Okay, step number 12. This is the drawer guide. Right now we've already built the drawer, but we haven't put a drawer guide on this, and this will allow our drawer to stop where it needs to and also keep it from twisting as it goes in and out. So we want to make sure, right now if we just push our drawer in, it would go too deep, and also it can get twisted in there. So we're going to make some drawer guides. Oftentimes drawer guides are made out of metal, and you can buy them at the store, and they cost $5, $10, $15 a pair. I don't want to have to charge you guys that much money, so we're going to make ours out of wood for next to nothing. Maybe 12 cents is what it's going to cost us. So, and do the same thing, keep the drawer straight as it goes in and out, makes it nice, a lot easier for us. If you really wanted to, you can go out and buy some drawer guides, but I don't want to have you guys spend any more money on this. So, okay, number 1, it says, get the pre-cut drawer guide boards from the wood storage room. You'll need 1 strip of the 1/4 inch thick, 3/4 inch wide, 15 inch long boards, and 2 strips of the 3/4 inch thick, 3/4 inch wide, 17 inch long board. I went ahead and pre-cut some of these for you. It's kind of a dangerous cut on the table saw there, making the fence really close to the blade. So I've gone ahead and just pre-cut a whole bunch. You're going to need 1 of the 1/4 inch thick pieces and 2 of your 3/4 by 3/4 by 17s. And again, I've already pre-cut those. They're going to be in these boxes here. I keep these boxes in the wood storage room, so if you need to know where they're at, right in the wood storage room on the left, you'll see them on a shelf. In here, I've got a whole bunch of different types of wood. If you'd like, go ahead and grab the type of wood that you're using. It's not going to be seen, so if you're doing walnut and you want to grab some oak or alder instead, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Just grab 2 of those, 1 of those. Okay, next. It says, cut the 1/4 inch thick strip to the length of the bottom of your drawer. Because right now I just pre-cut these and they're a little bit longer than what they need to be. So if I take my drawer, take my little strip here, place it on the bottom, it sticks past just a little bit. And I just want to cut that so it just gets trimmed off just a little bit off the end, right where it hits on the end of the drawer there. You can just use a miter saw, cut that off, get that the same length. Jared, now you can just hold that still in one place. You don't need to follow me around if you don't want to. That's fine. All right, just get it cut to the same length as the inside of your drawer on the bottom of it.
What if I do want to?
Next, it says, glue and clamp the 1/4 inch thick board to the bottom of your drawer. Be sure to center the board and keep it straight when gluing and clamping, and let it dry for at least 30 minutes. We just want to make sure this thing gets on here nice and straight. It's really not that big of a deal where it's placed. If you place it over to the side or over here, ideally we want to try to get it centered, but it's more important that it's not crooked. So we want to try to make sure your drawer guide stays nice and straight when we're getting this glued on here. And I found a couple ways you can do that. You can use the tri-square. Get your tri-square on the drawer and just line this up, and then you can square that up. Hold it still, and then you can trace that where it's at. That's one way. Another way is just take your tape measure and measure over the distance that it has over the side. We got like 5 7/8 there, and measure near the top, 5 7/8. Well, now we're nice and straight. And I like to trace this just so I know where it's going to go. Because when I take this off, I want to know where I'm going to glue this back on it. These have a nice white surface on one side and then a little brownish on the other. That smooth white surface doesn't glue very well. So put the glue on the face that's more brown looking, and the glue will actually stick a little bit better there.
So technically it's a butt joint if you think about it.
It is. Alright, it says glue and clamp it. It's kind of difficult to get clamps on this thing because of the drawer. So if you'd like, instead, you can just take your hands and just put some weight on this. Just put some pressure down, maybe a couple minutes, and then let it sit for another 25 to 30 minutes after that. But it really just needs to have some pressure on here. If you don't want to sit and hold it, find something heavy. Maybe a clamp or something else that's got some weight to it, and just place that on there. Something heavy. You could get that. Or you can find one of your friends that's bored and grab their hands and have them put their hands on top of this and just put some pressure on here for a good 3 to 4 minutes while that's drying. Okay? And then you say thank you, and then you walk away and just leave them holding your drawer for a little bit. Thank you. Next it says cut the 3/4 inch strips to the length of the inside of your table from the back to the front of your D-ring minus 3/4. Now again, I pre-cut these a little bit longer than what you need. So if you place them into your table here, we want to make sure that these are the same length from the back of your table to the very front of your D-ring minus 3/4 of an inch. And that way your drawer will come in and actually fit in here 3/4 more for the front to be even with the front of that. And so all I need to do is just measure our distance here, how long these are from the very back of my table to the very front of my D-ring, and I've got 16.5 inches. And I need a minus 3/4. 16.5 minus 3/4. Anyone know what that is? 16.5 minus 3/4. Waiting for the answer. 15 3/4. Good. 15 3/4. So we're just going to make these 15 3/4. Now yours might be different. You need to measure your distance from the back to the front of your D-ring, and then subtract 3/4 of an inch. 15 3/4 is what mine will be. And you just want to cut both those to the same length each. You can just cut them at the same time on the miter saw. If you line up these ends even, cut them both at the same time. Okay. Now they should be 3/4 of an inch in from the front of that. How are we doing on clamping here? Are we okay for a little bit?
Hopefully.
Now if you put your drawer on here and it slides back, your drawer should stop where it hits on the front of this. The problem is we've got too big of a gap there because it's resting on those drawer guides. And we want to actually have these drawer guides fit into your table more so your drawer actually fits better there. We'll continue clamping that a little bit longer. There we go. Okay, so looking on our paper here, we're now on number 5. It says place both strips on your D-ring and mark where the edge of the D-ring hits the boards in the front and the back. And measure, mark a line 1/4 inch down near both ends of each board. Just like the picture shows there. So if you look at the picture, this is kind of what I want you to draw on your boards. We want to just mark where it hits the D-ring and then notch this out so it'll fit inside there. So let's just line them up right where it hits the D-ring. The angle here. You can just mark, okay, it hits that D-ring right there, and then in the back it hits the D-ring right here. Same thing on this other board, you're just going to mark where it hits the D-ring at. Hits the front D-ring right there, and in the back it hits it right here. Now we just need to measure down 1/4 inch from the top and draw our line there. So if we measure 1/4 inch down, mark that with the 1/4 inch mark, and then we're going to draw that line across and connect these. So it should just look just like the picture. An easy way to do this, if you like, this little strip that we're cutting or gluing on the bottom of our drawer is 1/4 inch thick. So if you line this up, you can just trace the top of that. And that's 1/4 inch down already, so that's kind of an easy way to draw your 1/4 inch line. Measure those up, mark this over. You're basically just marking where we're cutting out. All this is going to be cut out. Same thing here. So that it'll fit inside your table. Again, I'll show that process one more time here. Just place it on top of your drawer. This is 1/4 inch thick, so you can just mark your line 1/4 inch thick down. It's kind of an easy way to do that. Or you could just measure it if you don't want to use that as a guide, but that works really well. And then draw your lines up and down there. And again, we're just going to cut away all the big section that's going to be removed. So we want to go over, it says number 8, use the band-saw to cut out your marks. And we're going to see if these fit in. So come on over to the bandsaw real quick. There Okay, when you're cutting on the bandsaw, be sure you try to get this nice and straight. You can go right on your line if you like, or right to the side of your line. Just go straight in and back it out. And then we'll turn it this way and come in straight in and back out. Just to notch these out, so you can just get your little section left over. Same thing on this side here. Alright, let's go see if they fit. Come on back. Okay, when you put them back in here, make sure that they're lined up the right way. If you notice, one of them is a little bit bigger notch than the other. And so make sure that you flip them the right direction so they're both the same direction here. You should have your 3/4 inch in from here. If you flip them this way, it doesn't have that 3/4 inches in from the front. So make sure that you get them flipped around so they should drop inside there. Now as you take your drawer and place it in, it should slide all the way back, stop where it needs to, and then it doesn't have that big gap there anymore because they're sitting in there. Next on your paper here it says, place your 2 drawer guides in your table, making sure they fit. Don't glue these until you've marked where they've been placed by setting your drawer into your table. Squeeze the 2 drawer guides together until they hit the drawer guide on the bottom, and then mark where they're at. So I like to place my drawer in here, line it up where I want it to be, get the equal spacing on both sides, make sure it's not crooked. And then from underneath, we're going to squeeze these 2 little drawer guides together. I'm just going to pull these 2 underneath here until they line up on the drawer guide that's on my drawer, right where it's at. And again, make sure everything's nice and straight and not crooked at all. And then once you get those together, carefully take your drawer out without moving your drawer guides. And then we can mark where these are at so we know where to glue these on it. And I just like to take it and mark it on the outside. Mark it over here. Just hold them still so they don't move. So that way I can take these off and I know exactly where to place them back on with my mark stick. Okay, if everything fits, go ahead and glue them on, and you're going to clamp these in place. It says, glue and clamp both drawer guides on the D-ring, making sure to line them up where you mark them. Use the small spring clamps for this and let it dry for at least 30 minutes. So I like to get glue on this whole joint here. This is a lap joint, one of your woodworking joints. Lap joint. Smear that around on there. And then again, when you place them back on here, you've got your marks where they're at, and I like to actually cover up the mark barely. If you just barely shift over and cover up your mark, you're going to be okay not having this thing too close together. Sometimes we have people glue these on way too close together, and then your drawer doesn't fit. Just clamp them on, one in the front, one in the back here. Same thing on this one here. And then your drawer should slide in and out just perfectly. Stop where it needs to. And we just saved ourselves $10 not having to buy metal drawer guides that do the exact same thing that these would. And these are going to be just as strong. For the size drawer that we have here, you don't need to buy the super heavy duty drawer guides. These ones are going to work just great. Line them up. I like to cover up that line just a little bit. Use the spring clamps again. Clamp these into place. And while this is drying, come get my signature on that paper. You don't have to wait for this to fully dry for you to get my signature. Once it's dry, your drawer should be able to slide in and out just fine. Stop where it's at. Thank you, guys.